In the fire service, they call it the beast. Usually the beast gives you a warning. It growls before it bites. It shows you flame before it takes your life. But on this day, the beast didn't growl. It waited. It hid in a void space 20 feet above the ground, silently chewing through lightweight steel trusses, feeding on enough polyurethane foam to equal a tanker truck of gasoline. 9 men walked into this building. They were the elite. Captains, engineers, veterans with 30 years of soot in their lungs. They carried thermal imaging cameras, halogen bars, and 200 feet of attack line. They did everything right, but they were dead before they even knew they were trapped. Let's take a quick pause here. Before we move on, I want us to take a moment to honor the memory of these brave men. They walked into the darkness so others wouldn't have to. Please leave a like on the video as a mark of respect, and in the comments, let us know where you are watching from. Okay, let's continue. In the lexicon of the American Fire Service, there is a theoretical limit known as the point of no return. It is a calculation of air supply versus distance. It is the exact second where you must turn around to survive. On the evening of June 18, 2007, 9 men from the Charleston Fire Department crossed that line. They didn't know they had crossed it. They didn't know that the clock had already stopped. They were standing inside a structure built from 18 million bricks, steel trusses, and 4 million pounds of polyurethane foam. They were the elite, captains, engineers, fathers, and they were walking into a trap that had been set 40 years before they were born. This isn't a story about a fire. Fire is simple. Fire is chemistry. This is a story about a building that was designed to kill. This is the autopsy of the Charleston Sofa Superstore. Charleston, South Carolina, a city defined by history, by water, and by old money. It is a city that prides itself on preservation, but preservation has a dark side. Sometimes we preserve the things that should be destroyed. To understand the mechanics of the disaster, you have to ignore the smoke and look at the skeleton. The address was 1807 Savannah Highway. To the thousands of commuters driving past it every day, it looked like a single massive retail outlet. That was a lie. The Sofa Superstore was a Frankenstein's monster of construction, an architectural tumor that had grown unchecked for decades. It began its life as a grocery store, the main showroom, 42,000 square feet, built with Type II non-combustible materials, concrete block walls, a steel bar joist roof system. But a grocery store has distinct fire risks. Low fuel load. Cans of soup don't burn. Frozen peas don't flash over. The building codes of the time reflected this low risk. But then the grocery store died and the furniture store moved in. As the business grew, the owners needed more space, but they didn't want to pay for a unified fire suppression system, so they improvised. They bolted on pre-engineered metal buildings, PEMs, to the sides. Then they added a warehouse in the back, 17,000 square feet of high-piled storage. Now, pay attention to this detail. This is the detail that matters. Connecting the main showroom to the rear warehouse was a narrow wooden alleyway, the connector. Local fire codes stated that if you had a single building over a certain square footage, you must install a sprinkler system. A sprinkler system costs money, tens of thousands of dollars. To avoid this cost, the owners argued that these were separate buildings. They were legally separate. Physically, they were fused together by cheap lumber, drywall, and negligence. By treating them as separate entities, the square footage loophole was exploited. No sprinklers were installed. The building was now a 52,000 square foot bomb, and the fuse was unlit. If you walked into the Sofa Superstore on a Sunday afternoon to buy a recliner, you would look up and see a white acoustic tile ceiling. Standard. Boring. But what you couldn't see, what even the firefighters couldn't see, was what lay 18 inches above those tiles. The interstitial space. The void. In modern construction, firewalls are supposed to extend all the way to the roof deck to stop smoke from traveling. Here, there were no stops. This void space was massive. In some places, it was 5 feet high, tall enough for a man to stand in. It ran the entire length and width of the showroom, unbroken. Think of it as a superhighway for fire, a secret tunnel that allowed heat to travel from the back of the store to the front without ever showing a flame on the showroom floor. Beneath this void, the store was packed with inventory. And not just any inventory, polyurethane foam. In the fire engineering world, we call this solid gasoline. When you burn wood, it releases energy. When you burn polyurethane, it releases chaos. A single sofa fully involved in fire releases a heat release rate of approximately 2 to 3 megawatts. To put that in perspective, that is equivalent to the energy output of a pile of burning tires. Now, multiply that by 2,000 sofas. The fuel load in that building wasn't measured in pounds, it was measured in tons, and every ounce of it was made of hydrocarbons derived from crude oil. When this material burns, it doesn't just get hot, it liquefies. It turns into a flaming rain of sticky, toxic tar. Monday, June 18th, 6:55 p.m. The store is open. Customers are browsing. Employees are closing out tickets. On the loading dock, tucked against the wooden exterior wall, something happens. Maybe a cigarette flicked by a delivery driver, maybe a spark. The official cause remains undetermined, but the physics are undeniable. A small fire starts in the debris. It's lazy at first. It feeds on the cardboard. It warms the air. But this loading dock has a fatal design flaw. It is an enclosed space with an overhang. As the fire grows, the heat rises. It hits the roof of the loading dock. It has nowhere to go, so it banks down. The heat radiates against the exterior wall of the warehouse. The metal siding gets hot. The wood studs behind the metal siding begin to off-gas. This is called pyrolysis, the chemical decomposition of a solid material by heat. The wood doesn't need to touch the flame to burn, it just needs to get hot enough. 7:01 p.m. The fire has breached the exterior. It is now inside the wall. It climbs. It finds the connector, that narrow wooden alleyway we talked about. In here, the chimney effect takes over. The fire is sucked upward, searching for oxygen. It races up the wall, hits the roofline, and turns horizontal. It has entered the superhighway. While employees inside are selling sofas, a river of fire is beginning to flow 20 feet above their heads. And nobody smells smoke. Not yet. The beast is awake, and the Charleston Fire Department is just sitting down to dinner. 7:09 p.m. The sun is beginning to dip, casting long, bruised purple shadows across the asphalt of Savannah Highway. Inside the firehouses of West Ashley, the routine is settling in. Shift change is over. The equipment checks are done. The diesel engines of the apparatus have cooled down from the day's earlier runs. Dinner is on the stove. At the Charleston County Consolidated Dispatch Center, a call comes in. It's a civilian, a passerby. The voice is calm, almost bored. They report a fire behind the Sofa Superstore, not in the store, behind it. The dispatcher types the code. It goes out as a trash fire or a rubbish fire. In the hierarchy of firefighter adrenaline, a rubbish fire is at the very bottom. It's a nuisance, it's a chore. It's not a battle, it's janitorial work. Engine 10 and Engine 11 are toned out. Engine 11 is the first due. It's a beast of a machine, a Pierce pumper carrying 750 gallons of water and enough hose to stretch 3 blocks. The officer in the front seat is calm. He's not thinking about structural collapse or flashovers. He's thinking about getting this knocked down fast so the crew can get back to their meal. As Engine 11 rolls onto the scene at 7:11 p.m., the size-up confirms the bias. They swing around the side of the massive beige building, tires crunching on the gravel, and there it is. A pile of discarded sofas and cardboard boxes pressing against the loading dock, burning lazily. The officer on Engine 11 grabs the radio handset. His voice is steady. "Charleston, Engine 11 is on scene. We have a trash fire against the building. laying a booster line. A booster line. Let's talk about that specific piece of equipment for a moment. Modern fire engines carry heavy artillery, 1 3/4-inch attack lines, 2.5-inch blitz lines, hoses designed to deliver 150 to 250 gallons of water per minute. That is the water volume you need to fight a building fire. A booster line is different. It's a narrow, 1-inch rubber hose on a reel. It looks like a garden hose on steroids. It flows maybe 30 gallons per minute. You use a booster line to put out a dumpster. You use it to wash blood off the highway after a car wreck. You do not use it to fight a structure fire. But they don't think this is a structure fire. They think it's a pile of trash. You can imagine the conversation in the cab of Engine 11 as the air brakes hiss and the truck settles into neutral. The driver turns to the officer, maybe checking his watch. 5 minutes, Cap? Wet it down and we clear? And the captain nods. Yeah, just keep the pressure low. Don't make a mess. They step off the rig, no urgency. Some of them might not even have their face pieces clipped in yet. They unspool the red rubber hose, dragging it across the pavement. The water hits the trash pile, steam hisses, the fire darkens down instantly. It looks easy. It looks over. But remember the physics. Remember the connector. While they're spraying water on the charred wood outside, the fire has already ghosted them. It has traveled inside the wall, climbed the studs, and is currently racing horizontally through the void space 20 feet above their heads. They are fighting the shadow of the fire, while the beast itself is flanking them. 7:16 p.m. Battalion Chief 4 arrives. The scene is evolving, but confusingly. Smoke is starting to drift into the parking lot, but it's not the black pressurized smoke of a working structure fire. It's gray. Hazy. It looks like the aftermath of the trash fire. But then, chaos spikes. A civilian runs up to the command vehicle. He's frantic. He points to the warehouse at the back of the complex, the one connected by the narrow alleyway. There's a guy in there, Jonathan. He's banging on the wall. Jonathan Tyrell, an employee. He had gone into the rear warehouse to retrieve stock and found himself in a nightmare. The smoke had banked down so fast he couldn't find the exit. He was trapped in the dark, disoriented, hammering his fists against the corrugated metal siding. This changes everything. The psychology of the fireground shifts instantly from property conservation to life safety. The boredom vanishes. The adrenaline dumps into the bloodstream of every man on scene. Firefighters from the St. Andrews Fire Department, a mutual aid crew, grab sledgehammers and Halligan bars. They rush the back wall of the warehouse. You can hear the rhythm of the rescue. Clang, 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 steel against steel. They are tearing the building open with brute force. They breach the metal skin. They rip away the insulation. And there he is. Jonathan Tyrell stumbles out into the fresh air, coughing, soot-stained, eyes wide with terror. Hands reach out to grab him. We got him! We got him! It is a moment of pure victory. A rescue. It is the highest high a firefighter can feel. One of the chiefs on scene likely keyed his mic, his voice tight with relief. Command to dispatch, we have 1 victim removed. He is conscious and breathing. But this victory is a curse. In tactical warfare, this is called a diversion. The rescue of Jonathan Tyrell focused all the attention, all the command bandwidth, and all the emotional energy on the rear of the building. While everyone was looking at the warehouse, looking at the saved life, nobody was looking at the main showroom. Nobody noticed that the smoke pushing out of the front doors 300 feet away was changing color. It was turning from lazy gray to a bruised, angry yellow. The fire in the void space was breathing, and it was getting hungry. 7:20 p.m. More units are arriving. Engine 15, Engine 19, Ladder 5. This is where we meet the men who aren't coming home. Engine 15 pulls up. Captain Mike Banky is in charge, 49 years old, a quiet professional, a man who loved the technical details of the job. And Engine 19, Captain Louis Mulkey. Let's pause on Louis Mulkey. In every fire department, there is a guy like Mulkey. He's loud, he's brash, he's 6 foot something of pure confidence. He coached high school football and basketball. He treated his fire crew like a sports team. He demanded perfection, and he loved them fiercely. If this were a movie, Mulkey would be the character you know is invincible, the guy who cracks a joke while the roof is burning. Imagine him jumping off engine 19. He sees the smoke. He sees the confusion. He doesn't wait for an engraved invitation. He grabs his crew. Let's go. We're taking a line in. Front door. They gear up. This is a ritual. It takes about 60 seconds if you're slow, 30 if you're good. They step into their turnout boots, pulling the heavy Nomex pants up over their jeans. They throw the suspenders over their shoulders. They slide their arms into the turnout coats, 3 layers of thermal protection, Kevlar, PBI gold. They pull the flash hoods over their heads, looking like medieval executioners. They strap on the SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus, 30 pounds of aluminum and carbon fiber on their backs. They clip the mask to their face. The seal tightens. Click. The world goes silent. All they can hear is their own breath. Engine 16 and Engine 19 team up. They grab a 1.5-inch attack line. This is the real deal now. No booster lines. They're taking water into the belly of the beast. They walk through the front doors of the main showroom. The environment inside is strange. It's not hot, not down low. The air conditioning is actually still running, fighting a losing battle against the thermal invasion from above. The showroom is massive, row after row of sofas, leather sectionals, dining room tables set for imaginary families. The smoke is banking down from the ceiling, creating a distinct layer about 10 feet off the floor. Below the smoke, it's clear. Above it, it's total darkness. Mulkey, Banky, and their crews, 9 men in total, plus others coming and going, advance deep into the store. They're 100 feet in, 150 feet in. They're looking for the fire. They have thermal imaging cameras, TICs. These are handheld devices that look like bulky camcorders. They turn heat into light. White is hot, black is cold. Mulkey lifts the TIC to his eye. He scans the room. He sees nothing. The screen is gray. He scans the sofas, gray. He scans the walls, gray. Why? Because the acoustic ceiling tiles, those cheap mineral fiber squares, are excellent insulators. They're hiding a 1,000-degree inferno just inches above his head. The camera can't see through the tiles. You can picture Mulkey lowering the camera, frustrated. He might have turned to Mark Kelsey, one of his engineers, and shouted through his mask, the voice muffled, metallic. "Where is it? I can smell it, but I can't see the damn thing." Kelsey, dragging the heavy hose line around a recliner, might have shaken his head. Maybe it's in the AC ducts? Maybe it's further back. "Push forward. It's got to be here somewhere," Mulkey would say. They push further. They are now navigating a maze. The retail layout is designed to trap customers, to make them wander past more merchandise. Now, in the haze, it's a physical trap. The hose line gets caught on a sofa leg. They yank it free. It gets caught on a coffee table. They're tethered to the outside world by a single canvas line. And with every step they take, the path back to the door gets more complicated. And all the while, above them, the steel trusses are beginning to soften. Steel loses 40% of its structural strength at 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature in the void space is currently crossing 1200 degrees. The roof isn't just a roof anymore. It's 1,000,000 pounds of metal and tar, waiting for gravity to give the order. The radio crackles. It's the chief outside. "Command to interior, what's your status?" Mulkey keys his mic. His voice is calm, professional. "Interior to command. We have light smoke, no visible fire. We're extending to the rear." No visible fire. Those 3 words are the tragedy. If he could have seen what was happening 6 feet above his helmet, he would have ordered a retreat instantly. He would have screamed for his men to run. But he couldn't see. He was blindfolded by the architecture. So he did what brave men do. He went forward. 7:28 p.m. Outside, the behavior of the smoke is changing. The physics of the fire are entering a new phase. The fire has consumed most of the available oxygen in the void space. It is becoming ventilation limited. Think of a wood stove. If you close the damper, the fire dies down. It smolders. The smoke gets thick, heavy, and pulses like a living thing. It's gasping for air. The moment you open the door, whoosh. The firefighters outside see the smoke getting lower. It's pushing down to the floor. Visibility is dropping to 0. A decision is made, a standard firefighting decision: ventilate. The logic is sound. In 99% of fires, you break the windows, you cut a hole in the roof, you let the heat and smoke out so the crews inside can see, so the temperature drops. It's firefighting 101. But the Sofa Superstore is not a standard fire. It is a sealed box containing a suspended atmospheric bomb. A crew approaches the front windows, large tempered glass panes. They raise their pike poles, long fiberglass rods with steel hooks on the end. Imagine the firefighter standing there. He thinks he is helping his brothers inside. He thinks he is buying them time. He swings the pole. Smash! The glass shatters. He swings again. Smash! Another window goes. Air. Thousands of cubic feet of fresh, oxygen-rich air rush into the building. It doesn't pull the smoke out, it feeds the beast. The air is sucked in with a terrifying, audible howl. It rushes over the heads of Mulkey and his crew, flowing up into the ceiling tiles, straight into the heart of the superheated gas in the void space. Inside the void, the mixture of fuel and oxygen hits the perfect stoichiometric ratio. The point of no return has arrived. If you were standing next to Louis Mulkey at that exact moment, you might have felt a sudden pressure change, a drop in the air, a vibration in your chest. He stops. He looks up. He whispers it. "Oh no." And then the sky falls. 7:38 p.m. The physics of a flashover are difficult to comprehend if you haven't seen one. It is not a fire spreading from point A to point D. It is a total thermal transition. Every combustible object in a room, the sofas, the carpets, the paint on the walls, the turnout gear on your back, is being heated to its ignition temperature simultaneously. They are off-gassing. They are screaming to burn. All they need is a spark, or a breath of air. When the front windows broke, the building inhaled. Now it exhales. The ceiling collapses. Not the roof, not yet. The drop ceiling. Thousands of burning tiles and the metal grid holding them rain down on the firefighters. But what comes with the tiles is worse. The fire that was hiding in the void space drops down. It is no longer contained. It is a blanket of flame, 20 feet thick, falling on top of them. The temperature at floor level jumps from 300 degrees to 1,500 degrees in less than 10 seconds. To understand that heat, at 160 degrees, human skin is instantly destroyed. At 500 degrees, the polycarbonate visor on a firefighter's facepiece begins to bubble and melt. At 1,500 degrees, the water in their hose lines boils inside the hose before it can even leave the nozzle. Imagine the chaos. Captain Mulkey, Captain Benke, and 7 others are 150 feet deep in the store. The way out is behind them, but behind them is now a wall of fire. The furniture they navigated around, the maze of recliners and sofas, is now burning. The path is gone, the landmarks are gone. The hose line, their lifeline, is their only hope. Follow the hose, find the door. But the hose is melting. The outer jacket burns away, the inner liner bursts, the water pressure dies. They are holding useless rubber in their hands. Outside, the scene descends into hell. The firefighters near the doorway are blown backward by the heat. They scramble away, shielding their faces. And then, the radio traffic begins. It starts with a button press, the emergency button. Every firefighter's radio has an orange button. You press it and it overrides all other traffic. It sends a distress signal to dispatch. At 7:41 p.m., the button is pressed. Mayday! Mayday! Unit with the Mayday, identify. Engine 19, we're trapped, getting hot. That voice belongs to an engineer or a firefighter on Mulkey's crew. It is breathless, high-pitched. Inside the inferno, the team is fragmenting. In a flashover, instinct takes over. The reptile brain screams, run. But you can't run. You're wearing 80 pounds of gear. You are crawling on your hands and knees because the heat at standing height will kill you instantly. You are bumping into burning furniture. You're entangled in wires that have dropped from the ceiling. They split up, not on purpose, but in the blindness and the pain, they lose contact. Captain Mike Benke is found later near the rear of the showroom. He was trying to find a back exit. Brad Beatty and Mike French are found together, huddled near a wall, trying to share air. But Louis Mulkey stays on the radio. There is a moment in the transcript that haunts everyone who hears it. The heat is intensifying, the turnout gear is failing, the air in their tanks is running low, the low air alarms, the vibra alerts are rattling against their masks. Mulkey keys his mic one last time. He doesn't scream, he doesn't beg. He sounds resigned. Car 1, tell my wife I love her. It wasn't a tactical transmission. It was a final will and testament. He knew. He knew the math. He knew the distance, and he knew the fire. Louis Mulkey, the coach, the captain, the leader, spent his final breaths sending a message to the woman he loved. And then, silence. 7:45 p.m. The steel bar joists holding up the roof had been bathed in 1800-degree heat for nearly 10 minutes. Steel expands when heated. A 50-foot steel beam can expand by 4 inches. That expansion pushes against the walls. The walls bow out, and when the beam can't expand anymore, it sags. It loses its tensile strength. It becomes like spaghetti. The collapse is catastrophic. It creates a piston effect. The falling roof pushes the smoke and fire out of every opening in the building. Doors, windows, vents. A massive fireball erupts from the front of the store, rolling across the parking lot, chasing the firefighters who are trying to regroup. Chief Rusty Thomas is screaming into the radio, "Evacuate! All units evacuate the building! Defensive operations only!" He calls roll, par check, personnel accountability report. Engine 10, accounted for. Ladder 5, accounted for. Engine 15. Silence. Engine 15, report. Silence. Engine 19. Silence. The silence on the radio is heavier than the smoke. 9 men are missing. And from the heart of the burning ruin, a new sound begins to emerge. It is faint at first, but as the roar of the collapse settles, it becomes distinct. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp, chirp. It is the sound of a PASS device, Personal Alert Safety System. It is a motion sensor attached to every firefighter's air pack. If a firefighter stops moving for 30 seconds, it goes into pre-alert. If they don't move for another 10 seconds, it goes into full alarm. It screams at 95 decibels. It is designed to guide rescuers to a fallen comrade. One starts sounding, then another, then another. It is the song of the dead. 9 alarms, 9 men. They are calling for help that cannot come. The fire is too hot. The collapse is too unstable. Their brothers are standing 50 feet away, hoses in hand, tears streaming down their soot-stained faces, listening to the machines scream. They have to just stand there and listen until the batteries die or the plastic melts. 8 p.m. The sun has finally set over West Ashley. The sky is no longer purple. It is a choked, muddy black, illuminated only by the strobe lights of 100 emergency vehicles and the dying glow of the embers. The roar of the fire is gone. The collapse has settled. The shouting has stopped. And one by one, the electronic crickets die. The PASS alarms, those digital guardians screaming for their masters, run on 9-volt batteries. They're heat-resistant, but they are not immortal. The first one stops at 8:12 p.m., then another. Then eventually, the last one fades into a static chirp, and then nothing. The silence that follows is heavier than the steel roof. It is a silence that presses down on the chest of every firefighter standing in the parking lot. They are covered in soot, sweat, and the grime of failure. They are dehydrated, their muscles cramping. But nobody moves. Nobody goes to rehab. Nobody drinks water. They just stare at the pile. You can imagine the conversation between two battalion chiefs standing by the command post, the maps of the building spread out on the hood of a truck, curling in the heat. One of them, a veteran who has seen death before but never like this, wipes a smear of ash from his forehead. He doesn't look at the map, he looks at the ruin. "We can't leave them in there," he would say, his voice cracking, barely audible over the idling diesel engines. "Not for a minute longer than we have to." The other chief, holding a radio that has gone tragically silent, shakes his head. "The steel is unstable, Dave. If we send guys in now, we kill more. We have to wait for the excavators. We have to strip the roof." "There are boys," the first chief whispers. "They're sitting in there alone." "They aren't alone," the other replies, hardening his voice to keep from breaking. "They're together, all 9 of them. They're together." 9:30 p.m. The recovery operation begins. This is no longer firefighting. This is an archaeological dig in a hazardous waste zone. The building is an unstable skeleton. The steel bar joists are twisted into abstract shapes, razor sharp and under immense tension. The walls are precarious. They call in the heavy equipment, excavators with grappling claws. But this isn't a demolition. You cannot just tear at the pile. If you pull the wrong beam, the rest of the structure shifts. If you dig too deep, you disturb the fallen. The operator of the excavator is likely a civilian contractor, or perhaps a firefighter with heavy equipment certification. Imagine him climbing into the cab. The controls are sensitive. He is used to moving dirt, moving rocks. Tonight, he is moving the tomb of 9 heroes. A spotter stands on the edge of the collapse zone, a flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. The spotter signals, hand up, stop. The hydraulic arm freezes. The spotter creeps forward, peering into a void between 2 slabs of concrete. "Easy," the spotter would murmur into his radio headset. "Easy. I see a tank. I see a yellow cylinder. Give me 6 inches, Jim, just 6 inches." The operator nudges the joystick. The machine groans. The steel lifts, barely. "Hold it. Hold it right there." The recovery team moves in. They aren't running. They are stepping carefully over the debris. They are carrying distinct yellow body bags. American flags are folded and tucked into their turnout coats. The physics of the recovery are brutal. The bodies are not just trapped. They are encased. The melted polyurethane, the roof tar, the wires, it is all fused together. The firefighters have to use hand tools, reciprocating saws, pry bars. They have to work intimately with the debris. They're digging their friends out of the very material that killed them. Midnight. The first body is freed. It is a moment that transcends protocol. The chaos of the scene organizes itself instantly into lines. Hundreds of firefighters from Charleston, from North Charleston, from departments 3 counties away form a gauntlet. 2 rows of silent sentinels standing shoulder to shoulder, stretching from the ruins of the showroom to the waiting ambulances. They remove their helmets. They bow their heads. There was no sound, no sirens, no talking, just the shuffle of boots on asphalt. A stretcher emerges from the smoke. It is draped in flag. As it passes, the firefighters salute. It is a slow, rhythmic motion. Snap, hold, drop. Then the next body, and the next. For the men standing in that line, time distorts. It feels endless. You can imagine a young rookie standing next to an old captain. The rookie is shaking. He's never seen a line of duty death. He's crying, tears cutting white tracks through the soot on his face. The captain doesn't look at him. He stares straight ahead, his jaw set like stone. He whispers, without moving his lips, "Keep it together, kid. You honor them by standing tall. You cry later. Right now, you stand." "I can't," the rookie might whisper back. "You can," the captain says, "because they would do it for you." They bring out Louis Mulkey. They bring out Mike Benke. They bring out Billy Hutchinson. 9 times the procession walks. 9 times the salute is thrown. By the time the sun begins to bleed gray into the eastern sky, the ambulances are gone. The site is empty of the dead, but it is full of ghosts. June 19th, 2007, 8 a.m. The smoke has barely cleared when the vans pull up. Black SUVs, mobile command centers. The letters on the jackets change. ATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. NIOH, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. These men and women are not firefighters. They are engineers, chemists, and forensic analysts. They don't see tragedy. They see data. They see a puzzle. Their job is to answer the question that is burning in the gut of every person in Charleston. How did 9 men die in a furniture store? Dr. Nelson Briner from NIST leads the team. He walks the perimeter. He looks at the burn patterns on the remaining walls. He looks at the pile of debris. To a layman, it's a mess. To Dr. Briner, it's a map. He picks up a piece of steel. It is twisted into a corkscrew. He turns to an ATF agent. "Look at the torsion," he might say, running a gloved finger along the metal. This didn't just get hot. It was subjected to uneven thermal expansion. The heat wasn't uniform. It started in the void. The ATF agent nods, taking a photo. The witness statements say the fire was in the back, but the guys died in the front. How did it get there so fast? It didn't travel through the room. It traveled over it. We need to find the loading dock. That's your origin. They divide the site into a grid. Every square foot is photographed, cataloged, and sifted. They bring in the dogs, accelerant detection canines. They sniff for gasoline, kerosene, lighter fluid. Was it arson? Was this murder? The dogs sniff the loading dock. They alert. The investigators freeze. They take samples. They rush them to the lab. The results come back negative. The dogs were alerting to the chemicals in the furniture varnish and the pest control sprays stored in the dock. It wasn't arson. It was physics. The investigation moves from the soot of the scene to the cold blue light of computer monitors. NIST begins to build a computer model, a computer fire dynamics simulator, FDS. They input the dimensions of the building, the materials, the wind speed, 8 miles per hour from the southwest, the fuel load, polyurethane foam. They run the simulation. On the screen, a digital fire starts in the loading dock. It creeps up the wall. It enters the void space. The computer calculates the oxygen consumption. The simulation shows the fire starving. It shows the smoke pulsing. Then, the simulation adds the event. Windows vented at 7:38 p.m. The scientists watch the screen. The digital building explodes. The heat release rate spikes vertically on the graph. The temperatures in the simulation match the melted helmets found on the scene exactly. There is a conversation that likely happens in that lab late at night between 2 junior engineers staring at the data. "It's a perfect storm," one says, tapping the screen. "Look at the flow path. As soon as they broke the glass, the velocity of the air entering the front door hit 20 miles per hour. It was like a wind tunnel." "They didn't stand a chance," the other replies quietly. "They were walking into a blast furnace, and they thought it was a trash fire." "It's not just the glass," the first engineer says. "Look at the rear doors. They opened the warehouse doors to pull the hose through. That created the intake. The front windows created the exhaust. The firefighters were standing directly in the flow path." The computer doesn't lie. The simulation proves that the tactics used by the Charleston Fire Department, aggressive interior attack, venting without coordination, were not just ineffective, they were accelerants. But the computer also reveals the other culprit, the building itself. The investigators pull the permits, they pull the inspection records, and they find the smoking gun. Not in the ashes, but in the paperwork, the connector. The owners had argued it was a separate building. The city had agreed. If that connector had been labeled correctly, the building would have required sprinklers. If sprinklers had been present, the fire in the loading dock would have triggered ahead. The alarm would have sounded at 7 p.m. The fire would have been contained to the exterior wall. Engine 11 would have arrived, wetted down, and gone home to dinner. Louis Mulkey would be alive. Mike Benke would be alive. All of them would be alive. The tragedy wasn't an act of God. It was an act of bureaucracy. While the investigators are sifting through the ashes, another kind of excavation is happening. This one isn't in the rubble. It's in the soul of the Charleston Fire Department. To understand why 9 men died, you have to understand how they lived. You have to understand the DNA of the department they served. Charleston, in 2007, was an aggressive department. In the fire service, aggressive is usually a compliment. It means you go in. It means you don't stand in the yard and squirt water through a window. It means you crawl down the hallway, eat the smoke, and put the wet stuff on the red stuff. It's a badge of honor. But there is a fine line between bravery and physics. The CFD operated on a philosophy that had worked for 100 years. We save the building. They used 1.5-inch attack lines, small, maneuverable hoses that flowed about 125 to 150 gallons per minute, GPM. Great for a bedroom fire in a house. But in a commercial building with tons of fuel, using a 1.5-inch line on the Sofa Superstore was like trying to put out a campfire with a water pistol. You can imagine the debate that raged in the firehouses in the weeks following the funeral, the kitchen table discussions. This is where the real analysis happens, over cold coffee and grief. Imagine a veteran lieutenant, the guy with 20 years on the job, sitting across from a younger firefighter who just transferred from a big city up north. The tension is thick. "We did what we always do," the lieutenant slamming his hand on the table. "We went interior. That's our job. We don't wait outside." The younger firefighter, maybe looking at a textbook on fluid dynamics, shakes his head slowly. "But Cap, the heat release rate, the 1.5-inch line couldn't cool that gas. We were bringing a knife to a gunfight." "We save property," the lieutenant snaps back. "That's the mandate. We save what we can." "We lost 9 guys for a pile of sofas. We traded lives for furniture." That silence, that uncomfortable, angry silence, that was the sound of a culture breaking. The department had low staffing levels. They often rode with only 3 men on an engine instead of the NFPA recommended 4. Less water, fewer hands, same aggression. It was a math equation that finally resolved to 0. While the firefighters argued, the NIST researchers were finishing their report, and the numbers were terrifying. They focused on the furniture itself. A modern sofa is not like a sofa from 1950. A 1950 sofa is wood, cotton, maybe some horsehair stuffing. It burns slow. It smells like a campfire. A 2007 sofa is a petrochemical bomb. The polyurethane foam cushioning is solidified oil. The synthetic fabric is plastic. When you ignite a modern sofa, it reaches a peak heat release rate of 2 megawatts in about 3 minutes. Now, do the math for the Sofa Superstore. The showroom contained approximately 50 tons of combustible material. When the fire entered the void space, it preheated everything below it. It baked the furniture. So when the oxygen rushed in from the broken windows, it didn't just ignite one sofa, it ignited all of them. The NIST report calculated the total energy released during the flashover. It exceeded 50 megawatts. To put that in perspective, a standard 1.5-inch fire hose flowing 150 gallons per minute can absorb about 2.5 megawatts of energy if every drop of water turns to steam. Do the division. 50 megawatts of fire versus 2.5 megawatts of cooling power. You would have needed 20 hose lines, perfectly coordinated, hitting the ceiling simultaneously just to hold the fire in check. They had 1. The NIST report, when it was finally drafted, was clinical. It didn't use emotional language, it used data. Finding 1, the fire load exceeded the suppression capability of the initial attack. Finding 2, the ventilation, breaking windows, was uncoordinated and supplied oxygen to a ventilation-limited fire. Finding 3, the lack of a sprinkler system allowed the fire to grow unchecked. But the most damning finding was about the void. The report detailed how the fire traveled through the interstitial space. It noted that the firefighters could not have known the fire was above them because they didn't pull the ceiling. Pulling the ceiling is a tactic where you use a pike pole to punch a hole in the tiles to check for fire above you. Why didn't they? Because the ceiling was 10 feet high, and the pike poles on the truck were 6 feet long. They literally couldn't reach it. A shortage of equipment, a shortage of reach, a shortage of life. The release of the preliminary findings hit Charleston like a second shockwave. The families of the fallen were devastated. They had been told their husbands and fathers were heroes, and they were. But now they were being told that their heroism was spent on a tactical error. That is a hard pill to swallow. To accept that a death was preventable is to accept that it was, in some way, a waste. The anger turned toward leadership. Chief Rusty Thomas, a man born into the fire service. His father was a chief. He loved the department. He loved his men. But he was the face of the old school. He stood at podium after podium, defending his men, defending the tactics. "We are an aggressive interior fire department," he would say, his voice straining against the microphones. But the tide of public opinion and the weight of the federal reports was too much. You can picture the scene in his office. Ideally, it's late at night. The blinds are drawn. The city outside is asleep, but he isn't. He's looking at the photos of the 9 men on his wall. He knows the department needs to change, and he knows it can't change while he is sitting in that chair. He writes the letter. "It has been the honor of my life to serve with these men, but for the department to heal, I must step aside." His resignation wasn't an admission of guilt, it was an act of leadership. He fell on his sword so the department could be reborn. But the resignation didn't fix the trauma. The surviving firefighters, the ones who were on Engine 10, Engine 12, Ladder 5, were walking wounded. They had survivor's guilt. Why did I get out? Why did my air pack last 5 minutes longer than his? Why did I turn left when he turned right? There's a story, perhaps apocryphal, perhaps true, of a firefighter who quit the week after the fire. He walked into the station, put his gear on the rack, and just left. When asked why, he said, "I don't trust the buildings anymore." That is the legacy of the sofa superstore. It took the trust away. Firefighters trust that the floor will hold. They trust that the roof is solid. They trust that if they do X, the fire will do Y. On June 18th, the building lied, the fire cheated, and the trust was broken. 2008, the year of the hard reset. The Charleston Fire Department didn't just tweak their handbook, they burned it. A new administration came in. A panel of national experts, led by the legendary Gordon Graham and others, descended on the city. Their mandate was absolute: standardize everything. For the veterans, the men who had kicked down doors for 20 years, this was an agonizing transition. It felt like an insult. They were being told that the way they had fought fire their entire careers was wrong. They were sent back to the academy. Captains with gray hair were sitting in classrooms next to rookies, learning how to read a flow path. Imagine that classroom. Fluorescent lights humming, a projector screen showing a diagram of a unidirectional flow path. A visiting instructor from New York or Phoenix is standing at the front. He points to the screen. "You do not enter a commercial structure without water flowing," he says, his voice hard. "You do not rely on a booster line. You do not go deep until you have controlled the door." A veteran in the back row raises his hand. He's tired. He's wearing a t-shirt with Engine 19 on it. "So we just stand outside? We let it burn?" The room goes quiet. This is the core conflict, the clash between the savior mindset and the survivor mindset. The instructor looks at him. "No, we don't let it burn. We kill it. But we kill it on our terms. We don't trade a life for a love seat. You hear me? We don't trade a heartbeat for a box of insurance claims." The changes were physical, and they were expensive. The gear, new SCBA units with heads-up displays, HUDs, that showed exactly how much air was left. The water, the department switched to 2.5-inch attack lines for commercial fires. A 2.5-inch line flows 265 gallons per minute. It's a cannon. It takes 3 men to hold it, but when you open that nozzle, the fire goes out. Period. The staffing. The city council voted to increase the budget. 4 men on an engine, 4 men on a truck, no more doing more with less. But the biggest change was invisible. It was the rule of air management. Before the fire, the rule was work until your low air alarm goes off, then exit. That gave you maybe 5 minutes to get out. In the Sofa Superstore, 5 minutes wasn't enough. The new rule, work until you have 50% air, then exit. It meant shorter work cycles. It meant less aggression, but it meant that you always had enough air to crawl home if the roof fell in. The legacy of the Charleston 9 went beyond the city limits. It traveled up the interstate into every fire academy in the United States. NIST released their final technical bulletin. It became a Bible. If you join a fire department today in Seattle, in Boston, in a small town in Texas, you will study the Sofa Superstore. You will sit in a dark room and watch the simulation. You will see the red arrows of the heat banking down. You will hear the recording of the Mayday. The instructor will pause the video at exactly 7:38 p.m., the moment the windows broke. What went wrong here? The instructor will ask. And a 19-year-old rookie who was in kindergarten when Louis Mulkey died will raise his hand. Ventilation-induced flashover, sir. They fed the fire. Correct. And because they died, you know that. You get to live because they didn't. This is the brutal calculus of safety regulations. They are written in blood. Every rule in the OSHA handbook, every paragraph in NFPA 1500 has a name attached to it. The rule about checking void spaces, that's the Mulkey rule. The rule about commercial sprinklers, that's the French rule. The Charleston 9 are not just names on a plaque. They are the invisible safety officers on every fire ground in America. The building was demolished. The charred steel, the melted cash registers, the debris, it was all hauled away. But you cannot build another store on a graveyard. The land was purchased by the city. They built a park, but not just a park, a map. If you walk there today, you will notice something peculiar about the layout. The walkways trace the exact footprint of the original building. When you walk down the central path, you are walking down the main aisle of the showroom. When you stand near the fountain, you are standing where the loading dock used to be. And there are 9 markers, bronze plaques set into the earth. They are not placed in a row. They are placed exactly where each man's body was found. It is a place of devastating stillness. The traffic on Savannah Highway rushes by, cars, trucks, life moving at 55 miles per hour. But inside the tree line, the air feels different. Firefighters from around the world make pilgrimages here. They come in their station t-shirts. They kneel by the plaques. They leave patches. They leave coins. They touch the bronze names like they are touching a relic. Imagine a survivor, one of the men from Engine 10 who made it out, walking here on a Tuesday morning. He's older now, retired. His knees hurt. He has a cough that won't go away. He walks to the spot where the front door was. He remembers the heat. He remembers the sound of the glass breaking. He walks over to where Brad Beatty lies. He doesn't say anything. He just stands there. He is having a conversation that we cannot hear. A conversation about guilt and luck and the burden of being the one who got to watch his children grow up. I'm still here, brother. I'm trying to make it count. We tell this story not to reopen the wound, but to clean it. Disasters like the Sofa Superstore fire are rarely the result of a single mistake. They are the result of normalization of deviance. We cut a corner here, nothing happens, so we cut it again. We skip a safety check, nothing happens, so we skip it again. We ignore a building code, nothing happens. Until one day, the physics align and everything happens at once. The Sofa Superstore was a trap set by complacency. It was built by greed, ignored by bureaucracy, and triggered by a tragic misunderstanding of fire dynamics. But the men who walked into it, they were pure. They didn't write the codes. They didn't build the addition. They didn't stockpile the foam. They just answered the bell. In the end, 18 children lost their fathers, 9 wives lost their husbands, and a city lost its innocence. But if you listen closely to the radio traffic of a fire in Charleston today, you will hear something different. You will hear caution, you will hear intelligence, you will hear a captain saying, Negative, we are not entering. The conditions are not untenable. That refusal to die for a building, that is their legacy. Brad Beatty, Mike Benke, Melvin Champagne, James Drayton, Michael French, William Hutchinson, Mark Kelsey, Louis Mulkey, Brandon Thompson. Rest easy, brothers. We have the watch.